Well, as I said, ignore the sound in background. I'm sitting in the kitchen preparing some coffee. And as I said in the previous episode, I will be introducing other YouTubers, different opinions, and then I will add my opinion, and I hope you guys will join in. Let's see what we're going to
Sharpe
do.
made sure plaintiff first met plaintiff at a Los Angeles
No. Let's start from John. Right?
trigger warning. I'm going to be discussing some sensitive topics. If you are triggered by role play, BDSM, choking, race play, this is probably not the video for you. I'm gonna give you a second to exit. Why I feel like you still here? All right, let's get into it. So on April 20th, Tony Busby filed a lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe. And the two most important people in this suit is Gabby Zinga. This is her. This is her. Okay. Thirst traps, right? Is Shannon Sharpe. January 2023. The beginning of a consensual but deeply manipulative relationship. Sharpe first met plaintiff at a Los Angeles gym in early 2023. Sharpe
So, got my coffee. Let's go back a bit because I wanted to show you, as I said when I was introducing the topic, we learned that this lady goes under the coverage of Jane Doe, but the internet is quick, right? I don't know who actually did the first exposure on who the person was. Maybe it was Shannon himself because, he also went on the internet and gave a statement, recorded himself, gave a statement basically saying, this is not true. They're trying to blackmail me. Her lawyer is known to do stuff like that. We're also going to get into that. But let's just gather different opinions, different and all informations we can get, and yeah, see what we can learn. So this is Jane Doe, but obviously her name is not Jane
On
Doe.
April 20th, Tony Busby filed a lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe.
And also keep that name in mind, Tony Busby. It's going to be very interesting. And the reason why I'm saying it's going to be very interesting, or that name is going to be very interesting, because it will feed into our opinion, how we're going to summarize this towards the end.
And the two most important people in this suit is Gabby Zinga. This is her. This is her. Okay.
So that was the young, beautiful lady who is filing the $50 million lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe with all the ugly allegations that we have learned. Most of them we don't even know about, but at least two or three that I've already dropped. Gabriella is the name.
People in this suit is Gabby Zinga. This is her. This is her. Okay. Thirst traps, right? Is Shannon Sharpe. January 2023. The beginning of a consensual but deeply manipulative relationship. Sharpe first met plaintiff at a Los Angeles gym in early 2023. Sharpe would deliberately watch Gabby in such a way to make sure she knew he was watching her. One day, as plaintiff finished the set and turned around, she found Sharpe standing inches behind her. Sharpe told her he had noticed her at the gym and wondered why she had not introduced herself. This was the first time they spoke. Plaintiff at the time, who had just turned 20 years old, was caught off guard and was face to face with a 54-year-old man she had never met. Plaintiff did not know at the time who Shannon Sharpe was. She did not know what to say nor how to feel about his advances. During their first conversation, Sharpe proposed a challenge, a competition to see who could lean out faster. The prize, if plaintiff won, he would buy her fake tits. Plaintiff was stunned. The implication she needed or wanted such a thing was wildly inappropriate. Hearing it from a stranger more than 30 years, her senior made it even more disturbing. Now, mind you, she have altered her body. She has lip fillers. Sure, she got her behind done. She just didn't want her biddies done, okay? And that's okay. Now, do I feel like that is inappropriate for him to say? Yes, it is. It is very inappropriate. But the better question is, Gabby, you may have not wanted your biddies done, but did you take him up and have him alter your body in any other way? Over the following week, Sharpe made him he's done, okay? And that's okay. Now, do I feel like that is inappropriate for him to say? Yes, it is. It is very inappropriate. But the better question is, Gabby, you may have not wanted your biddies done, but did you take him up and have him alter your body in any other way? Over the following week, Sharpe made himself unavoidable. Throughout their subsequent encounter at the gym, Sharpe made sure plaintiff understood who he was, a celebrity and TV personality. Over the following week, Sharpe made himself unavoidable. He was at the gym when she was. He constantly called and texted, demanded she come to his Beverly Glen mansion. Plaintiff repeatedly
He constantly called and messaged. So at some point, she exchanged numbers with him, right? We're just trying to follow, we're trying to understand all the informations that we're getting.
Declined and made up excuses to make her seem too busy to see him, but he would not stop. Sharp would not get deterred. Eventually, plaintiff gave in, but before she could meet him outside of the gym, Sharp made another demand. She had to sign a non disclosure agreement, an NDA. He refused to explain why and would not let her see a copy of the proposed agreement. He simply insisted to sign one. Plaintiff refused after multiple attempts. When he realized she would not cooperate, he finally dropped the issue, and that is the problem right here. Cause Shannon, ain't no freaking way, dude. First and foremost, he met this young lady when she was 19 years old. Once he found out that she was 19 or in her early 20s, the conversation should have been dead. I don't care if she's legal or not. Just
I would like to know people's opinion on that part. I've somehow, somewhere, in some way, shape, or form, talked about age gap, dating, relationships, but we all understand, we all know that there's always some kind of ugly taste to it. It just comes with the territory. I myself, I do not pretend not to understand when some people are like, oh my God, I don't see it. And on the other hand, there's some situations where maybe not 19 and 54, but where there is an age gap and people can agree to it. So it is always, I guess, very much surrounding the context is how the relationship is going or where the relationship is going to. Especially, to be honest, the reason why I even understand more where people are like salty is because there is some kind of transaction perhaps going on.
just because you can does not mean you should. He is a 54-year-old man. He was old enough to be father. He has children older than her. Problem with this is something that I see in a lot of these celebrities. They emotionally stunted and they want to be hoes all of their life. Him and her have nothing to converse about. He's forgotten more than she's learned at this particular point in her life. But he continued to pursue her. And ma'am, I made up excuses. You didn't have to give him your number. If he kept calling you and you didn't like it, you could have blocked him on your.
So let me quickly interrupt one more time. Actually, I haven't told you guys whose channel this is. I stumbled upon her channel some months ago, totally random. She came up on my timeline. I clicked on it. And I enjoyed it. Right, it's a bit different way of commentating. It's very entertaining, fun. She's direct with a joking manner. There's a lot from some of the clips. I would say I've seen at least five videos from her channel, and four of them I liked. Four of them I was like, I agree. So obviously that's life. We're not always going to agree to what other people say, but in general, the name that she chose for herself, brutally honest. I give her a pass. I agree to it. She is definitely brutally honest, and this one thing that I admire with people who are so straightforward. Yes, we understand that the person who's older holds more responsibility because we assume that they have more life experience, which is mostly true. But at the same time, what I really love about her commenting in this part is that she is also holding this young woman accountable. I do understand 19 is very young. It's literally 18. It's really, like, to be honest, 19 is young, right? You could still put it in the same bracket with 17, 18. Does that make sense? For a lot of 19-year-olds, they would agree to that. That makes sense. But there's something about being 18, being 19, hitting 20, hitting 21. You are now legally an adult. You are now, even within your tiny age, if you see what she has been choosing to do with her lifestyle, it's your choice. But there are some certain decisions that have been made, right? So I like that she's holding her accountable to say, okay, you did not want this. You didn't like him. You didn't like the pursuit. You didn't want to entertain this. You didn't even know who this was. You're thinking to yourself, what an ick. What is this old man wanting from me? Why? It's like all that stuff. But you actually entertained it, right? We are going to dive deeper into the dynamics that can happen with such things, right? Not that I'm a therapist or some kind of professional, not that I know too much of it, but I mean, we're all humans. We see things, we hear things, we make assumptions, we make opinions.
Your phone. Point blank, period. She talking about, oh, she didn't know what he was initially. I could believe that. Now he's no longer in the NFL, is known within the sports world, but that doesn't mean that it translates over into anything that she would see. However, once he gave her his name, I'm pretty sure she Googled him. And when she Googled him, she found out his network and she was more willing to deal with him. Some of these women go to certain spots, go to certain gyms because they are interested in catching themselves a baller. You all do not know. This lawsuit dropped in the midst of him negotiating a new contract for his podcast. It was estimated that he was going to make $100 million, if not more, on his new deal. Now, brands are pulling out, and all the rest of that is in jeopardy because he lacks actual discipline. He always chastising Ocho about being
Discipline is a good thing to have for every one of us in this life. Just need to put that out there. Now, look at this situation. You're actually making big moves. You're on a great path in your life. You're going to sign something major. He's already doing very well for himself, I'm sure about that. But there's a great opportunity. And the things with such kind of opportunities, not only about you, you're opening doors for the people to come. You're opening doors for your community. You're really shaking things. And now that is in jeopardy because of, yeah, because of something like this.
being professional and handling things differently when he out here risking his brand over some young tail. Revealed from the start the violent, aggressive, and controlling nature of Shannon Sharpe. The first night plaintiff went to Sharpe's house. The experience was unlike
Now we need to listen carefully.
his brand over some young tail. Revealed from the start the violent, aggressive, and controlling nature of Shannon Sharpe. The first night plaintiff went to Sharpe's house. The experience was unlike anything she has dealt with before, disturbing, unsettling, and given his subsequent conduct very illuminating. When plaintiff arrived at his house, Sharpe opened the door to his Beverly Glen mansion without a word, no greeting, no acknowledgement, no small talk, without so much as looking at plaintiff. He
I need to pause right there, real quick. Okay? At the same time, I'm commenting, so don't take this the wrong way. But I'm listening to this. I'm guessing this is her perspective. She's sharing her part of the story of how all these unfold. And you don't know this person. They're trying to pursue you, and you actually agreed to it. Fine. Then you're invited for the first time to that person's home, that man's home, who you've already been thinking something is not sitting too well with me or with this. And then you're standing in front of that person's house and they don't even communicate with you. They don't even say hi. They don't talk. They just let you in a creepy way. What are you doing there? You see, you don't know that person. Isn't there some like why you even go?
simply turned away from her, opening the door and walked upstairs. Plaintiff hesitated, but followed as she did not know what else to do or where else to go. When they reached
Turn back and go back home. The way you walked towards the door, turn back and walk that same way out of the compound, out of the yard, whatever, and just go.
the bedroom, Sharp pointed to the bed before disappearing into the bathroom and shutting the door behind him. He still had not said a word. Plaintiff sat on the bed waiting, unsure of what to expect or if she should leave. Roughly 5 minutes later, he finally emerged, but still, he said nothing. Instead, he turned off all the lights and laid down on his bed. Plaintiff, uncomfortable and unsure of what to do, laid down as well. For roughly 10 minutes, there was nothing but silence. Then, without warning, Sharp placed his hand on plaintiff's neck from behind, pressed his erect against her body, said his first words of the night. I knew from the first time I saw you that I was going to bleep you. Gabby and Sharp then engaged in oral. As they did so, Gabby at some point realized Sharp was using his phone. He was apparently recording her. Plaintiff could see that he was trying to be discreet, but it was obvious what he was doing. She
So now, before we move on, and some people are going to twist the whole scenario to what I'm saying, no. This is a general comment to anyone who is listening, to anyone out there, young, old woman, man, young boy, old man, old girl, old woman. I don't know. I don't care. If you find yourself in a situation, you're still in the position where you can decide to go and your feeling is telling you leave, just leave, right? There's no victim bashing because there are situations, as I said before, we still don't know what actually is the truth or not. But when there are situations where these things happen and then they turn out to be very true and you've already stepped in, When you're already inside, doors are locked, doors are closed, you're uncomfortable even more. The tendency for you finding a way out is slim. So rather trust your first judgment, your first initial, feeling, and leave.
Said nothing, scared to confront him for what he might do or say. When it ended, he rolled over and went to sleep. At some point later during the night, Sharp woke up, grabbed Plaintiff by her V, and began to have sex with her. The next morning, Sharp woke at roughly 4 a.m. to shoot a media segment for sports television. He woke Plaintiff as well and told her she needed to leave, but he informed her that she had to be back at 9 p.m. exactly. The following night, Plaintiff arrived at Sharp's house approximately 9:05 p.m., just 5 minutes past.
Now, this is the part where I am sure we're listening. We don't know. We're just listening to the story that she's sharing. And I'm just thinking this is the part where I can see where a lot of people, even myself included, are going to be unsure. Is that the good way to put it? They're going to be having questions. Because if you went there and it turned out to be so weird, him even recording you, we don't know if it's audio recording, video recording, whatever, you felt uncomfortable, you didn't like it. Luckily, I'm just thinking, you hopefully came out safe out of that, okay? And you left in the morning, you're free to go. And then the same person that made you feel so uncomfortable, so disgustingly uncomfortable, is going to tell you, I want you to show up again. It's the first time, and now you're doing it a second time, where there is so much room to say, you know what, no, I'm not doing this again. I've seen how you are. This is not for me. Ciao. So I can see why people are going to be asking, is this some kind of thing that you guys have? Did you want to do it? Did you actually like it? Were you hoping to get something out of it?
Past the time he had demanded. The moment he opened the door, Plaintiff experienced his rage for the first time. Sharp immediately launched into a verbal assault. He screamed at Plaintiff, berating her for what he felt like hours. He accused her of disrespecting him, wasting his time, and warned that if she wanted to be with the Shannon Sharpe, she would have to learn obedience. Plaintiff was terrified and feared for her physical safety. Still enraged, Sharp turned off the lights, grabbed her neck, and just like that night before, began having actual intercourse with her. The cycle of control, fear, and submission became routine. Yelling at her and opened the door, Plaintiff experienced his rage for the first time. Sharp immediately launched into a verbal assault. He screamed at Plaintiff, berating her for what he felt like hours. He accused her of disrespecting him, wasting his time, and warned that if she wanted to be with the Shannon Sharpe, she would have to learn obedience. Plaintiff was terrified and feared for her physical safety. Still enraged, Sharp turned off the lights, grabbed her neck, and just like that night before, began having actual intercourse with her. The cycle of control, fear, and submission became routine. Yelling at her and controlling her forcibly, grabbing her by the neck when he got upset, saying he was going to kill her, and a certain dominance became the norm. Ma'am, I ain't buying this part, and I'm going to tell you why. She already knew what it was when she came over to his house. He treated her like the ex-worker she is. That's why they didn't have no words. She didn't leave after the
I think I'm really nice about this, right? Brutally honest is very brutally honest.
first act. She stayed. They had intercourse. He woke her up at 4, told her to be back by 9, and she came back. But you was scared though. He wasn't forcing her to do nothing. She chose to come back. If he made you feel so uncomfortable, why would you show back up at his house? Make it make sense. And what do you mean? He treated like the ex her she is. She an OF model. You see them thirst straps that I showed y'all on her?
You see, that part, my mind didn't even go there, right? The fact that, yes, exactly, she is already in that circle of, they like to call it business. That's the reason he didn't see no need talking to you, greeting you, treating you like a friend, because it seems like that's the agreement. Maybe that's the treatment. I don't know. I do not wish to find out.
IG, regardless of your occupation, you have the right to consent. That's just basic human decency. But I also think it's fair to call out nonsense when you see it. If you were so offended by how he treated you, when you walked up in that piece and he took you to his bedroom, you'd be like, no, I don't get down like that. You would have been offended. What did you think this was? This ain't that. Better yet, you probably wouldn't even went to his house. You would have went out to dinner.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that I need to add before anyone comes to twist any words or even come to twist this lady's commenting and try to say, oh, yeah, so just because she's a you know what worker, she's supposed to be treated badly. No, no, no. That's not what anyone said. That's not what anyone is applying. That's not what anyone is wishing for onto anyone, right? That's not what this is about. Because I think even if you choose to be in that circle of business, right? You've seen your client, you've experienced it. Why would you choose to let him, I'll use the word, book you again? Does that make sense? So I guess that's a great observation on her part.
The better question is, what I got is, Shannon, how much did you pay for these exchanges, Shannon? And I don't doubt that he said, you want to be with Shannon Sharpe? You know why? Because Shannon is full of himself. Shannon is selfish. If you listen to how Shannon describes himself and he talks about how he moved when he was in the NFL, Shannon admits that football and his business came first. Everything came second or last of what his schedule was. And that affected relationship in his life with significant others and with his kids because he was so hyper focused on himself and his brain. Over the next year and a half, plaintiff saw Sharpe at his house as often as 4 times a week. Sharpe continued to treat her like an object. He continued to control her, not just physically, but
4 times a week? That is regular. That is routine. That is, I don't know if there was no, transaction or whatever they were doing. It's almost like a relationship. You're seeing that person 4 times a week, every time, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. So to some degree, people are going to say, girl, seems like you agreed to this. Seems like you liked it. Seems like you got something out of this. Seems like you put yourself into this.
emotionally and psychologically. He demanded complete control over her time and body, expecting her to be at his house on schedule at his command and whatever he called. The verbal abuse never stopped. He would berate and degrade plaintiff, just as he had from the beginning. One time specifically, he was yelling at her while there was a firearm visible in his room. Terrified for her safety, plaintiff
A firearm in the room. She saw that. She's aware that like this person owns a gun at home. You're already from jump not feeling good, not feeling safe, not feeling comfortable, feeling mistreated. Why are you still there?
tried sharing her location with friends from her iPhone just in case. But Sharpe saw her doing this. The moment he realized what she was doing, he grabbed her by the neck and told her, if you ever do that again, I will effing kill you. Ma'am, when you left, why you kept coming back?
Good point, and let me speak on that real quick. If you already are in front of that person who's wanting to alleged harm you, you cannot be doing that. That's something you do beforehand. I mean, if you are in a position where you can do that sneaky, do it. But those are steps that you do beforehand. And I think in general, if you are not like start again, you're meeting someone, you don't feel comfortable with that person, you leave it. There's no reason to keep going on to try to find out because when you try to find out, the only thing you're going to find out is it's not good. It's not going to end well. If you're meeting with someone, you're trying to get to know them, you involve your people beforehand, especially because you want to be safe. And also, if you like that person, more or less, you would want someone in your circle to know, hey, look who I'm with. Look, I'm on a date with so and so. We're gonna have fun. We have a good time, or even in a safety manner. Look who I'm with. This is the name. This is where we're going. This and that. You do all these things beforehand. You don't put yourself in a dangerous position and then trying to create safety precautions. You do that beforehand.
If you're so afraid, why do you keep dealing with this man? You don't have to deal with him. When I fear for my safety, I don't approach the situation. I mind my business and I keep moving. When I fear for my safety and I don't like someone that makes me feel uncomfortable, I get up and leave or stay from around them. All of these times she could have stayed from around this man but kept being in his presence. That's why I asked how much was he paying her. They did role play, they did choking, they did BDSM, race play as well. And I also think they engaged in R play. Sharp progression and rage continued to escalate to the point that plaintiff's friend began to fear for her safety. For example, when plaintiff was with her friends, they could hear Sharpe yelling at her over the phone and would ask her if she was safe and if she was okay. In the summer of 2024, plaintiff and Sharpe each moved to Las Vegas for their own reasons. Sharpe liked to say that the plaintiff followed him to Vegas, but that too is a lie. Once in Vegas, Sharpe again insisted that the plaintiff sign an NDA. She refused and again he persisted, but after enough resistance, he let it go and continued seeing her multiple times a week. His behavior
That's also weird on his side, right? Isn't it? We're gonna talk about that, but the whole thing is just
did not change. He remained erratic, controlling, and verbally abusive, all the while telling plaintiff that he was committed to an actually exclusive relationship with her. Now, he was all of these things. He was so controlling that he couldn't get her to sign that NDA. Make that make sense. Then in September 2024, Sharpe
great point. Detective brutally honest as she's on her game, and I'm not even funny about this. That is a great point. This man was so aggressive, so demanding, so controlling, so brutal. He even had a gun at home, but he did not get you to sign that. Especially connecting this with the firearm that he alleged owned at home. I don't know. In some states in America, you can register that, and then it's fine to have one, I guess. But with all these things, he didn't get you to sign that. You were able to resist that, to say no to that, to just let it fly. He accepted. But how is it that you found, oh my God? You see? You see where this is going?
humiliated plaintiff. He live streamed himself having sex with another woman on Instagram for over 1.1 million followers to see. He later made jest of the incident on his podcast
What?
exclusive relationship with her. Now, he was all of these things. He was so controlling that he couldn't get her to sign that NDA. Make that make sense. Then in September 2024, Sharpe humiliated plaintiff. He live streamed himself having sex with another woman on Instagram for over 1.
He live streamed himself doing that? And from all the platforms on Instagram? Did that happen? How weird is that? Like, I'm not into the business of whatever people want to do, but really?
1.1 million followers to see. He later made jest of the incident on his podcast show Club Shay Shay and show Nightcap. But for the plaintiff, it was anything but funny. He was repeatedly assuring her they were in an exclusive relationship, a bit unhealthy and abuse. This was a lie that not only hurt her emotionally, it made her fear for her sexual health and the risk of sexually transmitted diseases. At that point, plaintiff began to pull away from Sharpe. She stopped answering his phone calls and stopped telling him where she was when he would demand to know. And I think that, ma'am, you should have stayed on that path. Now, mind you, the live stream that they're talking about is with Michelle. During that time that the audio of him having intercourse leaked, people were calling out his close relationship with a stylist, and people were questioning his sexuality. And it had persisted for a couple of weeks. And then boom, audio leak. And people's like, okay, we see you. Now, mind you, Michelle also had an incident with Shannon. And I think she briefly had like a restraining order against him. The case was either settled or dropped in court. Now, as far as him
I'm going to dig into that because that is new to me. So don't worry about that.
being exclusive with Gabby, it was exclusive on her side and open on his. That's why when you be getting with these older men and they be leading with their wallet, it's all about control. He could tell you what he can do, but you can't tell him what he can and can't do. He the head nigga in charge over there. And obviously cheating and anything like that is a violation, and hopefully all of them got tested. I could see her being concerned about her health. Do I think that they was in a relationship? No, I think that they were in a transactional relationship. I believe that for him to get his rocks off and to get the type of action that he wanted. Plaintiff feeble attempts at freedom and independence further upset Sharpe. He began flooding her phone with calls the minute to know where she was. He called relentlessly, multiple times per hour. The harassment became so unbearable. Plaintiff frequently began leaving Nevada, determined to cut off communication, resist his efforts to control, and attempt to reclaim some control of her life. It took courage for plaintiff to make this effort. She remained terrified, even though she thousands of miles away. Sharpe Sharpe simply would not accept independence or freedom for plaintiff. In October 2024, just after plaintiff
Now let's pretend the other way around, okay? Because so far you guys are definitely noting that I'm going with the flow of something is wrong, she's making this all up. We don't know so far, but anything could happen. Now let's play with the idea that this is true and he's being this disgusting, weird, controlling person who's trying to get people to play out his king, and he's using money to do that, right? The question of how far they're agreeing and not, that's different. If people are agreeing to do this and that's what they choose to do, no one would be talking about this. But if it's supposed to be true that this is a forced, relationship, forced situation, then obviously there's going to be consequences, and we would want that to happen if this is supposed to be true. So let's play with that idea and say, okay, Shannon Sharpe has this weird kink going on. Then the question to me is, what is not sitting right with you? If you have some kind of sexual ideas you want to play out, and then you find yourself with this person who does not want to do it anymore, they're not into it, and you seem to be even someone who has all the money to play with, why don't move on? Just move on, let it go, stop forcing anyone. That's what would come to my mind, and figure out somebody who wants to do that, right? That's the question always when you hear all these cases. So we're playing with the idea, if that was supposed to be true, you would be asking yourself, what is wrong with you? Just actually find somebody who is really interested in this. Find somebody who's even advertising themselves. Yeah, come on, I'm gonna do whatever kink you want to do. That is my prize. Let's go. Let's whatever. And they're actually gonna play out whatever role you want. Instead of putting all these shame, all these nonsense, all these disgrace, all these hurt out of into the world, right? So just in general, actually, to anyone out there, what is wrong?
returned from Europe, Sharpe behavior became more angry and aggressive, now violent. Ma'am, why didn't you change your number? The best thing I can say is change your number. Go to the police, file paperwork against him. I can believe he has control issues. Oh, baby, you ain't got to work. I'll pay your bills. Here go a car. I'll pay your house. When they doing that, that's a control play. They not just doing that for nothing. You got to fall in line and do what they want. This is one of the reasons that Shannon likes younger women. And he don't want to mess with women his age because they already know what's up. So a lot of times you gotta go down to a younger generation that really don't know how you giving it up, and you can kind of disguise yourself until they learn. Shannon, I hear you like them young. Why is that, Shannon?
Is the older women trying to shame older men into picking them? Because see, that's the competition. Older women ain't the competition with older women. It's them young ones.
Right.
It's them young ones that's coming. Yes, that'll do what you want.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna tell me I'm independent. I pay my bills. Right. I pay the cost to be the boss. You the boss by yourself. Them old young one coming with it. They coming with it, Ocho.
Yep, they coming with them lawsuits. They coming with them SA charges, Shannon. You ain't gonna tell me what to do. You told her what to do and got accused of SA. Oh,
the internet is hilarious. Never forgets. And it's crazy how people, sometimes all these things you say, things you be putting out there, it can backfire. It can backfire. As I said, we don't know for a fact. People know already what's going on with their mind games, but this one right now is a bit hilarious.
Man, they trying to shame us.
Now, I'm going to take this clip to create another episode, actually, because I will talk about this, because there's so much happening in this short clip.
Us into dating them. The young ones, they competition. A old fool. A fool and his money should surely depart. Them old ones won't let me choke them like that. Them old ones ain't gonna play when they tell me to use protection. Them old ones ain't gonna be like, when I get there at 9, when I say be there at 9, they ain't gonna just show up without question. When I bring them old ones to my house and we supposed to be on a date and I take them directly to my room, they ain't going in. They looking out for them young ones. Yeah, you got your young one and you got your young lawsuit, don't you? I'm a boss. You a boss by yourself. Shannon, you ain't in no relationship either, sir. A old fool by himself that's paying for companionship. But then I also feel like she has her own trauma that she's dealing with because she's 19, 20 years old. The type of role play and the type of things that they were engaging in because it was so extreme and you just don't hop into that type of activity overnight. She got some trauma herself. On October 6, 2024, plaintiff was working out at a Nevada gym, following her usual routine. As she worked out, she saw Sharpe aggressively approaching her. She could tell by his look and the way he moved quickly towards her that he was furious or having been ignored. As soon as he got close, he told her, "Sit the F down, I'm gonna kill you." Plaintiff refused. "I don't want
What? Just listening carefully.
routine." As she worked out, she saw Sharpe aggressively approaching her. She could tell by his look and the way he moved quickly towards her that he was furious or having been ignored. As soon as he got close, he told her, "Sit the F down, I'm gonna kill you." Plaintiff refused. "I don't want to talk to you. You cheated on me." His response was dismissive and controlling as usual. "You don't have a choice." You talking to her like that?
Okay, that is crazy. And then her response to that, "you cheated on me," is also crazy. Was this a relationship? Was this not a relationship? Were you confirmed with it? Because if I'm thinking to myself, this person is harassing me, forcing himself on me, I want to get away from him, right? I don't care who you're cheating on. Like, I don't care, right? I'm happy you're away from me. I would be thinking, find a way to warn these other women, maybe go to the police, whatnot. But I'm happy you're away from me. I'm not thinking to myself, "you cheated on me. Oh my God." No, because I was actually trying to get away from you. So what is this? And then
That's his child. Oh wait. Sharpe demanded that they talk in private. Again, plaintiff told him no. She made it clear she did not want to talk to him, but be alone with him or want him coming to her home. But Sharpe didn't care. He never took no for an answer. Sharpe forced plaintiff under threat to get into his car and to go to her house. Ma'am, you a whole white woman. You should have started screaming, "Help!"
I'm sorry, that was too funny because I did not see it.
He
Well,
never took no.
when something funny, sometimes it is funny and it is a joke. Obviously, she didn't mean it in any kind of way, but that's the thing with jokes. They just hold so much truth sometimes. That statement, if you let your mind go, you know what that means.
For an answer. Sharpe forced plaintiff under threat to get into his car and to go to her house. Ma'am, you a whole white woman. You should have started screaming, "Help! Help!" As soon as you got towards his car, he would have pulled away. Once Sharpe was inside her apartment, plaintiff tried to keep the conversation in the living room, but Sharpe refused. He demanded they go to the bedroom. She said no. He didn't listen nor did he care. Once inside the bedroom, Sharpe grabbed her from behind and forcibly positioned her to perform oral. He had held her in place and then forced her to begin performing. And he became even angry and said, "You disrespected me so much. I'm going to punish this a-hole. I'm going to make it so no man will want you again." I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. But ma'am, if this is a part of your role play, I hope he sues the brakes off of you. Plaintiff at this point was crying and sobbing. Tears streamed down her face as Sharpe repositioned her and took her cheek. "Turn around and look at me." Sharpe grabbed her head, forcing her to look at him as she sobbed. He said at that point, "Look at this. Look at my arm. I got chills. That's how good this is." Shannon Sharpe forced himself on the plaintiff in order. Despite her sobbing in agony as it happened, he told her in a moment as she was crying that the experience was so good it was giving him chills. Sharpe behavior demonstrated that he believed plaintiff to be his personal property, possessed and owned by him. He also believed that the laws did not apply to him, that he could take what he wanted, and that no one or
Now, wait a minute. Interjection as usual. We are not going to pretend that things like this do not happen, right? It has been proven, some cases, to be true. We know in this life, as beautiful as life can be, there are also crazy people around. There are also bad people around, and we understand, yes, it happens. There are people who will, can use their position, money, and power to do whatever they think is right. There are people who, at least with that kind of position, will try to manipulate the system as far as they can, right? It happens. We're not going to pretend that we don't know of this.
or no one could or would stop him. He was and is wrong. If this is truly him R-ing her and not role play, he deserves to be up under the jail. She's saying these incidents happened. He's later on came out and said, nah, it's gonna look a certain way, but this is what we were into. And the reason why you are stuck on stupid to me is because you already knew the type of fetishes and things that you enjoyed engaging in. But instead of you handling your business and getting with somebody that engages in that type of stuff, that understood, hey, this is how I give it up. This is what is expected. This is what you have to do because I have a brand. You have to sign this NDA. If you don't sign it, you and I won't have a relationship at all. When it ends, it's end. Do not call me. Do not this. They have people that handle this type of stuff. We're about to see somebody that
Yeah, really. And this is really take the judgment away. I take my moral stance away. Take all these things away. At the end of the day, if we just want to take it for what it is, anyone who has whatever kind of pleasure ideas, it is, to be honest, it is okay and it is actually even good that you can connect with people who would willingly, by choice, it is, even if I don't like it, but then that is what they choose to do. There's a transaction, there are roles, there, all these things. If that is what they want to do, then connect with that one, connect with that someone, right? Go into those spaces instead of creating harm, creating confusion, putting yourself in a bad position. Like, does that make sense?
that engaged in this type of stuff that's sitting behind bars right now, did because this is what this is reading like. For some of y'all that got these kinks in my comment section, ain't y'all supposed to have like a safe word? This is my understanding. Some of the people that engage in like the BDSM and have certain kinks, right? They typically have a safe word that they use when they feel uncomfortable or they want somebody to truly stop. So most of the time, no is not the word. On January 2nd, 2025, Sharpe told plaintiff he wanted to see her. Sharpe persisted and reminded plaintiff that he had a combined Christmas and birthday gift to give her, as he previously promised her a gift. She ultimately allowed him to come over to her apartment. She regrets that decision. Once inside her apartment, Sharpe began undressing. Plaintiff firmly stated multiple times that they would not have sex without protection, demanding that he wear protection. She knew that in the past he refused to ever use protection and became and believed that her demand would stop him from having sex with her. But although he refused to use protection, he still insisted on sex. She tried to resist him. She screamed. She had already expressed concern for her safety, knowing that he had been involved with other women, increasing the risk transmitting a disease. The more she begged, Sharpe became more aggressive.
And let's continue with the perspective on if this really happened, right? And she's the victim, which is, with all these things we're hearing, if this should be true, we're all devastated, we're all down, we're all sad for her. We want this to be handled the right way. But I want to talk on something else real quick. This is people, I know people are going to be like, oh, this is victim shaming. This is not victim shaming. This is the reality of life and things, how things can unfold. When you already choose to step into certain circles, okay, the likelihood of you pursuing more ideas within that circle, something you may have thought to yourself, oh, I'm not going to cross that boundary, I'm actually not going to do that, might be more available, more easier to you to do because you're already in it. So what I'm trying to say is, I've spoken about this, I've talked about some girls who are doing this and how it always ends miserable. Now, this is a different way of misery and bad ending, but I'm really trying to stretch that people need to be more aware of all these fun and easy life choices that they make. Perhaps this young lady was thinking with her 19, 20 years old, yeah, I'm going to start with OnlyFans. And she didn't think anything more about this, but she didn't understand what it carries along. Not only your own choices, but the persona, the perspective of what it may mean to other people when they learn that that is what you're doing or where you are getting your money from or that's who you choose to be. What that could mean to them could be wide away from what you actually are. You might have thought, oh, I'm not going to join into that, I'm just going to be on my online platform, I'm not actually going to take this into the real world. And then you may have tested or tasted how that money is online, and now you see someone who's a big catch, how to say big fish, and you might be easier persuaded into doing that. Does that make sense? So yeah, just be more mindful.
and made it clear he would not wear protection and he was going to have her have his way with her. Sharp grabbed her, pulled her around, positioned her to perform oral, which lasted roughly 2 minutes. Then Sharp repositioned her and roughly forced X with her. Plaintiff never stopped demanding and begging that he stop or put on protection. Sharp ignored her. As soon as they began intercourse, plaintiff screamed and sobbed. Her cries for help did nothing to stop Sharp. The assault lasted roughly 10 minutes, ending only when Sharp plaintiff cried and begged repeatedly for him to stop. Plaintiff left Nevada after the assault. Brings these causes action in the honorable court to recover damages as outlined below. It is imperative that Shannon Sharpe and those like him are held accountable for actions to prevent them from engaging in further sexual activity and sodomy and harming future victims. And I absolutely agree. And also, first incident that she described happened in 2024. This happened a few months later in 2025. And I'm really trying to understand, why in the heck didn't you go to the police? And I know that it's shame and everything that goes into that. If you are truly a victim to be on art or anything like that, I don't care what you have on. I don't care your occupation. If you say no, no means no. That is a full sentence. Whether you be man or a woman. A reason why I have doubt with this is because he released text messages. And within those text messages, you can see the type of activities that they engaged in. When people have these kinks and these fetishes and they start recording stuff and they start doing stuff, it don't look regular. And when you hear it, it sounds like, oh, this person actually took advantage of this individual, but really it's just a kink that they're engaging and they know what's up. If these two incidents occurred outside of their usual kinky activities that they engaged in, and he violated her in these ways, he deserves to be up under the prison. I am suspicious of people that have certain kinks because I don't think that it's funny to ever role play like you are R-ing someone, because the idea that you're getting off on violating someone or being violated is something in your mind that, hey, it's questionable activity, because it's not funny when it actually happens. And that seems to be the case.